This is Scholar Strife doing some math. Today we'll be using square roots to solve quadratic equations. The square root method is, a method for solving quadratics when it is in the form x squared equals some number, d. There's no bx term, and the coefficient in front of x squared is 1. So all we do is we solve for the variable like normal, getting rid of the other numbers by adding or subtracting it over. We get z squared equals 9. And to get rid of the squared for their variable, we're going to do the opposite, which the opposite operation is to square root both sides. So if I have z squared equals 9, I'm going to square root both sides. When I do that, it's going to give me two answers, plus or minus whatever the square root of 9 is, which happens to be 3. Because the square root of 9, it's saying what number times itself is 9. Well, that could be positive 3 in itself, or negative 3, because negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. So my answer is z equals 3 or z equals negative 3. And just like if we had a number multiplied to a variable, we would divide that variable. And so I have r squared equals 9 over 25. That can't be reduced. So I'm still going to square root both sides. And we need to remember that if we square root a fraction, where we are essentially square rooting the top and square rooting the bottom. So this is going to equal square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of 25 is 5. And I'm going to get two answers, positive 3/5 or negative 3/5 is our answer. So let's do those again. So x squared minus 12, I'm going to get rid of that minus 12 by adding 12 to both sides. I have x squared equals 16. The square root of 16 is plus or minus 4. So x equals 4 or x equals negative 4. Here I have a positive 17, so I'm going to subtract it, and I'll get t squared equals 0. Well, luckily, nothing bad happens. T equals 0. 0 can't be positive or negative, it's 0. It's neutral. So we only have one answer there. Oh, and I did skip over something here. Right here. So when your d value is positive, so in all these examples, everything was positive except for part B. And that's after we add things over or divide. So this one, so part B was 9/25. This part A was 9. Part A in checkpoint 1 is 16, and part B was 0. So if it's positive, then there's two solutions. That's why we got plus minus in answer. If d equals 0, then it only has one solution, 0. And if d is less than 0, then it has no solution. And I'm going to show an example of that right up here. So if I had x squared equals negative 4, when we take the square root of both sides, nothing can be multiplied by itself in order to get negative 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. There's nothing we can do. So that's why there is no solution here. So when your d-value is negative, no solution. If it's 0, 1 solution. If it's positive, 2 solution. All right. Okay, we're going to first subtract 3 from both sides and get 4x squared equals 20. And then to get rid of the 4 is being multiplied to x squared, so we're going to divide both sides by 4. Get x squared equals 5. And then we're going to take the square root. So I would actually be happy if you left it as plus or minus the square root of 5. But the question says round it to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so we go bust out our calculator. And we'll get x equals, or as approximately, 2.24. Or x is approximately negative 2.24. Okay, 2x squared minus 7 equals 9. We're going to get rid of that minus 7 by adding 7. So I have 2x squared equals 16. 2 is being multiplied by x squared, so to get rid of it, we're going to divide by 2. X squared equals 8. Take the square root. We have x equals plus or minus the square root of 8, which if we round to the nearest hundredth, that would be positive 2.83 or negative 2.83. All right. So this one is a little bit different. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is divide. So x plus 1 is in parentheses, and then it's being squared. And then there's a 5 being multiplied outside. So we're going to get rid of the outside first. So it's being multiplied by 5, so we're going to divide both sides by 5. So I have 5x plus 1 squared equals 30. Dividing both sides by 5. These will cancel. And I'm left with x plus 1 quantity squared equals 6. Okay, and then to get rid of that squared, I'm just going to take the square root. Square root. Both sides. So I have x plus 1, because the square and square root cancels, equals plus or minus the square root of 6. So this is going to change into 2 different problems. I have x plus 1 equals positive square root of 6, and I have x plus 1 equals square root, or negative square root of 6. So I'm going to go to my calculator. Well, first let me clean it up. X plus 1, I subtract 1 to both sides, so x is equal to square root of 6 minus 1, or x equals negative square root of 6 minus 1. So you want to go to your calculator, and you got to be careful, because when you put square root of 6, make sure you close the parentheses, because that minus 1 is outside the square root. And if you do that successfully, you'll get about 1.45, or x is about negative 3.45. Alright, let's do that again. So we're going to divide both sides by 3. That cancels out. M minus 4 quantity squared equals 4. Take the square root of both sides, and we'll get m minus 4 equals 2, or m minus 4 equals negative 2. So when I add 4 to both sides and both equations, I'll get m equals 6, or m equals positive 2. Hopefully this helped you out. Have a good day.